Hey guys, I'm Josh, and today I'm going to be just joshing around customizing this Groot action figure. My wife and kids actually picked this up for me at Five Below, and I'm pretty excited to customize it. This is actually from the cartoon show, Guardians of the Galaxy, but I'm going to try to make it look like the movie version. And here's something cool. Check this out. He stretches out. So, let's get to it. The first thing I had to do is remove the figure from the really cool packaging. Little fun fact, neither my wife nor my kids actually knew that it expanded when they got it. So that was a nice surprise. What I'm trying to do here is mark out some different spots where I'm going to gouge out the plastic. I want the pieces of his body to resemble a tree a little more closely. This took a good bit of trial and error. I was having trouble with the bits on the rotary carver because I think I was grinding it too quickly, and that caused the plastic to melt quite a bit. So as you can see, I switched back and forth between using the rotary carver and some chisels to accomplish the look that I was going for. After a bit, I got a little better handle on how to carve this type of plastic. You see, the chest and the legs are harder plastic than what the arms and the head are. Using several different bits on the rotary carver, I made lighter passes over the plastic instead of deeper ones, which worked much better because I was shaving away the plastic rather than melting it. After I got all those deep gouges cut, I went back over it with a little sanding ball burr and cleaned it all up, before switching to my little corner gouge chisel to add all the details to the head, the face, and the arms. Like I said before, some of the plastics were a little bit easier to carve. Both the head and the arms were more of a rubbery type of plastic, so I was able to add a good bit of detail very easily. The quality of this figure is pretty firmly on the low side. It's not anywhere close to the level of detail in one of the Marvel Legends series figures, and it's probably just a bit lower than the Titan series actually. However, they did add some good detail to the figure. I was just trying to accent those details and add a good bit more myself. Since Groot is a tree person, or I'm not sure exactly what the race is called, but he's basically a living tree, somewhat resembling an ent, I wanted his whole body to have more of a tree-like, wood-green texture and appearance. Like I mentioned back at the beginning of the video, this figure is actually based on the cartoon show of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I could have just weathered it and took the lazy approach to it, but I kind of wanted the challenge of making this thing look as close to the movie version as possible. Plus, I always think it's pretty cool to take a really cheap toy and make it look like an expensive collectible. What you're seeing me do here is rough up all the rest of the figure using this really coarse steel wool and a wire brush. The steel wool specifically did a very good job of roughing up all the surface of this figure. Now that he's all roughed up and feels all wood-like, it's time for everybody's favorite part, weathering. Well, maybe that's just my favorite part. Anyway, I'm using my typical mixture of shoe polish and powdered graphite. I stuck to using just brown shoe polish instead of using black also. This is because Groot is more brown than he is black. The graphite just tints it a bit and adds a little bit of texture, especially to all those little grooves and nooks and crannies. After I allowed the mixture a good bit of time to dry, I used a scour sponge soaked in hot water to remove most of the excess material. Then I used a paper towel to wipe off all of the wet areas. This was the first of 3 weathering treatments. To add some vegetation and mossy details, I'm using a combination of gloss green and flat green paints. I didn't mix them together completely, I just marbleized them a bit just so I could have a little bit of each color in every stroke. I mainly added all of the green details to the edges of the plates of wood. However, I also very lightly dry brushed some of the green onto the main body. Tried to accent all of the little viney areas on his body as well. For any areas that I added the paint just a little bit too heavily, I just wiped it away with a paper towel or my finger. I did add a good bit of green detail to the larger hand though. At first I was a little bit concerned about this green paint having somewhat of a glossy finish. But then I decided I was going to add a flat clear coat over the entire figure, so it wouldn't really matter. To add some more texture and depth to the wood, I poured out some flat dark brown and some flat rust paints and just did the same method I did as the green. Not completely mixing them, but just kind of marbleizing them. However, differently from the green, I applied the brown over the entire body. Not in thick layers, but just dry brushing it on. The addition of these two shades of brown to the figure really helped it come to life. I forgot to mention it before, but I actually considered gluing all the different pieces to prevent the figure from expanding. I was thinking it would have been cooler to have the figure be a fixed size. However, I'm glad I decided against that because it's way cooler to have this thing stretch out. As you can see here, I'm applying my second treatment of weathering solution. I didn't allow this coat to dry quite as long though. That second coat did a really good job of making everything look more uniform. I used the remaining paint to touch up and accent some small details. Next up, I repainted the eyes. I was pretty happy because this part was by far not as hard as the last figure that I customized. I basically just enlarged his pupil and then I added a little tiny white dot for glare. I didn't film it, but I finished the figure by spraying on some flat crystal clear coat. And then he was done. I'm extremely happy with how this figure turned out. I honestly didn't have very high expectations at all, especially once I started carving into the plastic. But after I figured out a good method, it went pretty well. And even though he doesn't look exactly like the movie version, it's not bad for $5. Well, that about wraps it up for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, because I really enjoyed customizing this Groot figure. I'm actually really surprised about how well this turned out. I wasn't really expecting too much because this is kind of a cheaper quality figure. But, like I said, pretty happy with the results. What do you think about it, Groot?
I am Groot.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you like your makeover.
I am Groot.
What's that?
I am Groot.
Well, I'm not really sure what my thoughts are on the current geopolitical climate. We might have to come back to that, Groot.
I am Groot.
Yeah, for now, I'm just gonna put you back on the shelf, okay?
I am Groot.
Yeah, you can sit right here beside Star-Lord. Okay. Perfect. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video.
I am Groot.
Not now, Groot. Trying to do the outro here. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to like and subscribe below.
I am
And
Groot.
can you stop, please?
I am
Oh gosh, yes, Groot. I know about the dangers of gluten.
I am Groot. I am Groot.
My gosh, I know you love CrossFit. Would you stop talking about it?
I am Groot.
2 hours later.
I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. I am
Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot.
Nobody cares, Groot. Nobody cares.
I am Groot.